So hello everyone, welcome to today's Great Wine Capitals webinar. My name is Céline Bechler and I'm honored to be part of the Lausanne delegation and to lead the webinar subcommittee within the network. Our mission is to facilitate meaningful discussion on key topics that shape the future of wine tourism, just like today's focus. The Great Wine Capitals Global Network connects prestigious wine regions across the world. This unique alliance fosters knowledge sharing, collaboration, and excellence in wine tourism, helping wineries to develop innovative and sustainable practices. Through initiatives such as the Best Wine Tourism Awards, business exchanges, and industry research, we aim to elevate wine tourism as a driving force for economic and cultural development. Wine tourism is evolving and independent wineries are recognizing its potential. But how does it truly impact their business? Today, we will explore whether wine tourism creates real value for wineries, drawing from academic insights and hands-on experiences. We are delighted to welcome Claire Lamoureux, PhD researcher at Kedge White School, who will share exclusive findings from her study on the impact of wine tourism. We will also hear first-hand perspective from Château Mauvignon and Weingut Braunwell, two wineries that have successfully leveraged wine tourism as a strategic tool. Guiding us through this discussion is Mark Shockley, global storytelling specialist and writer based in Lausanne. Now I'm pleased to hand it over to Mark. Thank you for joining us. I hope you find today's webinar both informative and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining in from wherever you are and whatever your role is in the wine world. It's fantastic to be working here with Great Wine Capitals on this webinar. Just an insight in today, our speakers, but also our main speaker, Claire Lamoureux, has gained funding for her research from the Great Wine Capitals network. And if you are keen or have an idea that you wish to share or research or develop further, the grant for this year, 25-26, is now open, and the deadline is May 31. So you've got a bit of time, but not too much time to put your submission in. And this will all help develop the opportunities and the knowledge and the know-how of wine tourism everywhere. So the wine industry, as Celine said, is at a crossroads. Wine consumption is decreasing, but tourism and travel is back to 100% of pre-pandemic levels. And travelers are spending more on experiences, interestingly. So what are the opportunities and the challenges for independent wine domains and experience specialists in this growing tourism sector, which is expected to grow by at least 12% in the next 5 years? So there's many opportunities, but there is also some challenges and things to be aware of. And so I'm joined today by Stefan Braunwell of Weingut Braunwell in Rheinhessen, near Mainz, and also Caroline Leger of Château Mauvignon in Saint-Emilion, in Bordeaux, of course. And we will be adding to the discussion and looking at Claire's data. Obviously, we don't have the time today to deep dive into everything, but Claire, who's been working on this and very deep in the data, will provide insights. We will have some time for some questions, but only in the Q&A, not in the chat. So only in the Q&A. And of course, we will get to more of your questions. Lucy and I will get to that as we get to the latter end of the session, which is going to be opening up everything for us to discuss, talk about. And please, if you have any burning questions, there are no wrong questions. So please be as interactive as you wish to be. So Claire, if I hand it over to you and you can bring up your slides and we can see first the original data. Thank you, Claire.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction, Mark and Celine. Can you all see my slides? Oh, good. Okay. Well, before to dive into the presentation, I just wanted to give you a little bit of context. Very early on my PhD journey, so my research topic is how wine tourism impact organization and performance of independent wineries. I really stumbled across a few obstacles. The first was the lack of formalism in the economic or financial data connected to wine tourism. Mainly because the revenues from wine tourism can be very diverse. It can express itself with direct sales, or it can be expressed with charging for the wine tourism activity. And you also have the whole process of potentially reordering wines. So it was very hard to find a straight answer to the economic value of wine tourism. And then the more I got in touch with wine producers practicing wine tourism, the more I realized that actually the value of wine tourism is much more than just economic value. There is the issues of revenues for sure, but there are intangible values such as the new service creation, the sustainability dimension, the relationship dimension that you build with your visitors when they come to your place and that you finally open your door. And I really want to thank Great Wine Capital for funding this research, because it allowed me to design a threefold study of comparing Bordeaux, Great Wine Capital, because this is where I'm based, and Mainz, Great Wine Capital, thanks to the collaboration that we built with University of Gessenheim, with Professor Janowski and his student Victoria Oschmeyer. I've been greatly supported as well in this research by my PhD supervisor, Professor Tatiana Bouzdin, and our student, Valentine Marc. I wanted to mention it. But without any further ado, let's dive right in a few of the extract, the samples of the data that I found very interesting for a presentation. Just know that you have all access to the complete report that is posted on the website of Great Wine Capital. Today, we're only going to zoom in few elements, but it's already opening so many horizons that I think it was important to have this time to reflect on this. One of the last part of the study was to study the visitors. So the study took place in 3 steps. First, we interviewed wine estates, and I would like to thank Stefan and Caroline for playing along, because we interviewed them about their practice of wine tourism, their motivation behind it. And thanks to that very rich input, we designed 2 surveys. One was for the producers and the other one was for the visitors, in order to see if the producers' expectation and motivation were matched at the level of the region. First, not only from the bias of Great Wine Capital's Best of Wine Tourism Award winners, because we know that if you're part of these of this category, you're already very dedicated to your wine tourism, and you're probably leading in your region. So we wanted to check the global aspect of the producers, and then we wanted to see if what was put in place by the producers was matched by the visitors. And by interviewing around 200 visitors in each region, we found out that visitors, these 2 regions have very different visitor profiles. And the idea of this presentation is not to compare the two regions in the sense that one is better than the other. It's more to give a bit more perspective to one's region's results that can appear a bit flat without any comparison element. So the first thing that was very striking was the differences in the profiles of visitors within these 2 wine regions. And we found out that in Bordeaux, for instance, we receive much more international visitors. There's 37% versus 6% in Rhine-Hessen. And that Rhine-Hessen, on the other hand, receive much more local visitors. And it's already asking and raising issues of logistics for direct sales, for instance. How do you carry your wine if you are flying from abroad? Or if you are a local, you're probably already acquainted with the winery. So the relationship is very different. Then we look at visitor generation. And what I found exciting was, especially in Bordeaux, the rise of the younger generation coming. Okay, we see that in Mainz, the generation are probably a bit older, and that will be a point of improvement. Definitely try to attract new generation, younger people in the vineyard, because the producers have a lot to offer in terms of recognition to nature and immersion in a natural environment. Then we ask visitors to define themselves, and how would they define themselves? And what was very interesting is that in Bordeaux, they define themselves tourists before wine tourists. And they define themselves as customer, while in Rhine-Hessen, because we have more locals, they consider themselves as native or guest of the winery. So already spirit is very different. So just a quick recap. In Bordeaux, we have more international profiles, so that will raise issues of logistics, direct sales, and potential visit repeats. Because if you come to Bordeaux and it's your once-in-a-lifetime trip, you are very unlikely to repeat your visits. They consider themselves overall as tourists, wine consumers, and we are really happy to see the comeback of younger generation to the vineyard. In Mainz, you have more local and regional visitors, so they're probably more loyal and they already know the wines. It's an older population, so I would say that's definitely a point of attention to bring. They are loyal customers, and their wine tourism is much more intentional. You come here because you know the winery, you want to enjoy the landscape of the wine region.
Thank you, Claire. That was already interesting with the data and the stats that you have. Stefan, you are an award winner of Great Wine Capitals for sustainable wine tourism. It's interesting being compared against the big boy of Bordeaux, how Mainz and the Rhine-Hessen region is different, quite different in how what type of visitor is arriving. Looking at some of that information that Claire shared, what was your initial insight, or what do you see that was either interesting, different, or maybe even challenging?
So I think what we know is that we have a certain, so the wine business here in Rhine-Hessen has a certain strength in selling wine directly to customers, to people who come to because of wine, this intentional wine tourism, what Claire said. What's the challenge for us and what we want to achieve is we have so many people coming into Mainz, into this city of 2,000 years of history since the Romans have been there, have been growing wine. So what the young generation of winemakers and people in wine tourism here is going to is to make offers and services to attract more young people coming into Rhine-Hessen. So that what Claire found out at the moment is absolutely right. But what we want to have and where we want to go to is to become more attractive for also international and for younger people. We have at the winery, Germany is a white wine growing country. So people coming here, everything what we do is cool climate, what is very interesting in terms of wine interested people because of the changing climate all over the world. So And changing climate means that you have a certain responsibility to make sustainable efforts. That's the same what Caroline's doing in Bordeaux. So we have to show people what we do, and that's for young people very interesting. So that's the point, to attract people for this great white wine region here.
That's right. And so Stefan, your domain is very self-dependent. Or independent, you could say. 70% of your energy and electricity needs are provided on site. Is that something that you and the domain lead with in terms of your narrative, or does still the wine come first?
I think it's both. So in general, I don't think that there is really a sustainability tourism at the moment. So sustainability is a top up for us. To show people how we work inside, and that we care about nature, and that that the future is very important for us. And we try to show that inside our tours through the cellar. We try to show that when it's very easy when you are in the vineyards here, when you walk through the Seltz Valley as a part of the Rhine Valley, to show what we do in terms of plantations, of birds, of securing nature, and the interesting thing for us, what I think what is different to that, what Claire found out, we see a lot of young people at our winery. So with that offer for sustainability and how we work with vineyards, and so with agriculture, people are very interested, and especially young people are interested in that. But it's
fantastic. Yeah, Stefan, exactly, and that's a beautiful segue to Caroline, because Chateau. I have to always look at my notes for this one, because it's
Mauvinon, Marc.
Mauvinon. Merci, Caroline. You and the team at Mauvinon have really made the multi-dimensional experience of a wine domain sort of a core part of the offer. You don't just offer wine tasting, but even bird watching and ecology experiences. Can you expand a bit on that in this market, in such already a dominant market of Bordeaux, based on Claire's findings?
Yes, just to come back to data, as Claire explained, so we have international profiles, a lot. And a few years ago, when I joined MUM here at Chateau Mauvinon, I fight again international, like just opening slot in French, because I was thinking that receiving French was the more valuable for us. But finally, we are 4 kilometers from Saint-Emilion, and we have many international profiles. So we totally need to be international here. So 7 years ago, we developed experiences more than tasting, because we, as Claire shows in data, and it's totally true in Mauvinon, we have no wine tourists mainly. We have tourists. We have people looking for experiences. They don't want just a tasting. They want something else. For me, coming in Saint-Emilion is like if you go to Australia, you want to see kangaroos. Here, they want to see an estate. They want to see what is our life here, what is being wine grower in Bordeaux. So that's why we needed to be totally sincere and authentic by providing simple and authentic experiences. And at the same time, MUM has been moving all the vineyard to organic, and we act a lot for environment. So it was quite natural for us to promote it and to speak about environment and ecology during the visits. So just what we have been doing, it was not just to say that during the tour, but more to organize all the experiences in the focus of environment. And finally, even if people are coming and saying, I don't like Bordeaux wine, or I don't like red wine, or I don't drink wine, they can leave something here. But it is the case, it's happening. We have more and more people coming. They don't want alcoholic beverages. So by providing other experiences, you can also give special moments to people who are not wine drinker or Bordeaux drinker. So the idea here was to open to international first, because also now we know how to connect with these people, to sell wine, to ship wine. So that was a big work, but now we can do that. And also to develop experiences, I would like to say, for everybody, for young, for old drinkers, everybody can find in Movino a reason to come and to have a nice experience and unique experience.
Yeah. Thank you, Caroline. That was a beautiful way of expanding on it. And of course, the domain won in 2024 as a regional winner for Great Wine Capitals and Sustainable Tourism. So the narrative is working, and anything from those first few slides is we cannot discredit visitors who show up without an intention of being wine drinkers, but then also we still have to factor in those who are traveling, who are wine lovers, wine connoisseurs, who are traveling specifically to a region to enjoy those wines. Claire, did you want to continue? Oh, sorry. Yes, Caroline. Yeah.
If I can, also sometimes I speak as a wine grower. You don't feel you are good enough to receive guests, because here we don't have big architecture, we don't have age generation, etc. So sometimes you feel, why should I tell to the visitor, and which story should I say? Because, for example, there is many places here in Bordeaux. We have 5,000 wine growers. There is a lot of other people and wineries to visit, but we have all our own story to tell and to experience. So I think we should think that we are all unique, and that's what we should really tell as a story when people are coming.
Yes, everything is storytelling. Everything starts and ends with a story. So authenticity, and of course the story. Claire, I think you've got the next section of those stats, which are also quite intriguing. So look up.
Yes, absolutely. So just for a wrap up, whether you agree or not with the stats, because they are regional stats, and you might not find your individual case represented in them, it's important to know your visitors. Get a little bit of data about them, try to find out, so you can adjust. That will be my recommendation. We then look into the satisfaction level about producers on wine tourism, because I wanted to know their motivation and if they felt like these motivations were fulfilled. So in terms of satisfaction, we can see here that Bordeaux wine producers, they were a little bit more satisfied on average about their wine tourism. They were, I would say, Mainz producers were also happy, but they were a bit more critical in their grade, because we asked them to rate from 1 to 5 their level of satisfaction, and then we asked them the points of satisfaction, so where they will find their biggest satisfaction. In Bordeaux, for instance, sales were the biggest satisfaction. It's interesting to see that the order was almost the same between the two regions, but they were not marked the same, especially in Mainz. Image producers struggled a bit more to find the impact on their image and the financial advantage that wine tourism could give them. It goes hand in hand with the perceived ROI. I told you at the beginning that what was very hard for us to design was an economic study with financial data. So instead, I said, okay, maybe we can just ask people their opinion on their perceived return on investment. And we find a higher satisfaction or a higher perceived return on investment of wine tourism in Bordeaux rather than in Mainz, which is interesting as well, because then when we dive a little bit deeper, so overall producer satisfaction is good, but sales and profitability in Bordeaux appears to be meeting the objectives a little bit more than in Mainz. However, financial profitability is still a bit elusive and is still a bit harder to find. But then looking at the practice, we also find out that in Bordeaux, they were charging higher prices for their wine tourism. And in Mainz, there are still a lot of producers practicing free visits and tour and tasting. So of course, then the perceived ROI is much lower. So that's also some kind of habits that can be changed and that can be improved. Producers find it difficult to discern the impact on their image and financial advantage, even more in Mainz than in Bordeaux. So that's something as well that could be supported by maybe a better social media or building on this relationship that you are creating with your visitors when they enter your wine estates. And we find out as well that they all struggle with monitoring, and the quality of wine tourism profitability monitoring is questionable. So it's very hard for them to assess this profitability. So I would recommend as well to build the customer database around wine tourism, especially if your wine tourism is free. At least you should try to collect information about your visitors. So again, you will profile them better so you can adapt your offer, but also you can find if they are loyal customers, if they reorder and they keep on reordering or keep on coming to visit you more often. Then we, maybe you want to express your opinion.
Claire, actually, I just wanted to say to Stefan, in terms of your customers and in regards to loyalty, so repeat visitors, do you have systems in place to know who's been with you before or who has been referred to you by another one of your clients or guests? Is that a core part of how you're data tracking?
Yes, and I think that that's also very important, so that we know who has been there, who will come next time, or who will be a loyal customer. So we come from another time. As Claire said, there is a lot of free wine tourism or free tastings. Maybe this is different to Bordeaux because we always have been selling wine to people directly. But in the change, what we see also with international guests, that is very interesting now. I see more and more professional offers and services what people do here in Rheinhessen, because we know there is people when they only come for tourism and they don't buy wine. So you have to make your return on invest, everything what we see here. You have to do it directly when the tourists are there. So that's maybe why producers are not so satisfied at the moment. We have to do a bigger investment. So this is our challenge. There is a movement. Okay, COVID was a bit critical, but now everything is, so you said, Mark, tourism is back to the times before, and we have to go on in professionalizing our services. Yeah, exactly. And therefore it's important to have the data. Thank you, Claire.
Yeah. Claire, please continue. I think the next slide also is quite intriguing.
Yeah, so now that we know more about producer, it was important to see if all the efforts the wine producers were putting in place was matched with expectation of the visitors. So if we look at the main motivation to do wine tourism, I would say practice wine tourism only if you are happy to do so. It's not one solution fits all at all. But so the motivations were mainly into increasing sales. There was also the issue of customer retention, customer acquisition. Really like that. There was a motivation in just enjoying receiving people. And then we look at the activities that were offered. So you have here like a quick panel of the activities offered. And then we look at visitors' motivation. And what is very interesting is that, like in Bordeaux, okay, wine is still one of the main factor of one of the main driver of the visits. Then it will be nature and gastronomy. And I find it really interesting that nature is second in the two region. While in Mainz, well-being, nature and gastronomy come as a top three. So, and then if we look at the satisfaction as well, but if we look at how to match the nature and well-being, nature gastronomy, we see that showcasing your assets, yes, it's fulfilled. It's something that people are coming from, the asset, the quality of the landscape, the natural environment. However, in both regions, in Bordeaux and Mainz, we can see that sport and well-being are probably the least offered activities. Well, that's people want or expected. If we look at the satisfaction, so that's you have the motivation of the visitor, what drives their visit, and then what they take home with them. And that's their satisfaction of the experience. Staff comes first. So the human encounter is essential, I would say, in the quality of your wine tourism. But also you can find that price came the last satisfaction in Bordeaux. Well, in Mainz, it's almost at the average, and it's higher satisfaction anyway. But and in Bordeaux, indeed, we do charge more for the wine tourism. But again, in terms of strategy, it will make sense to charge because people are in Bordeaux more tourists than wine tourists. They expect some experience and they might not buy the wine as well. So in order to conclude on this part, areas of improvement necessitate studying visitors' motivation and expectation. Once you know who are your visitors, visitor seeks experience related to nature, well-being, and gastronomy. That's what some of their main drivers. Human resources are crucial. You need knowledgeable staff to provide valuable, authentic encounter. And pricing issue requires attention, definitely in both regions, I would say, not for the same reason, but in both regions. And it raised the question of professionalization. That's exactly what Stefan said. Professionalization and quality of the activity and the perceived value in the eyes of the visitors. Because if you are charging for an experience, they expect a wow factor. But they are okay to pay for it if they are living something, living a real experience. And if it's a one-off visit with some purchase limits due to transport logistics, and that loyalty is low, definitely you need to optimize the return on investment on the price of the visits.
Very interesting, Claire, and it's fascinating to see what tourists and wine tourists are wanting, but also what isn't there yet. And I think that's an exciting part, is that this is by no means a static industry. The world does not start and end at the domain. In fact, it goes well beyond that. Carolyn, I wanted to ask you, in terms of resources for your wine tourism offers, how much of a resource do you spend on staff and on the development of ideas to keep the wine tourism and the tourism offering open and changing?
I could say that it is a critical part of the organization here, because you can have the best wine to sell, the best place to visit. If you don't have the staff, the experience can be totally ruined. So here we are only 2 in winter, so my mom and I, and we are 6 in summer. But the people we are hiring, they are not guide or host, they are part of the family, because here we are trying to transmit something really authentic, really, we want the people working with us to be totally engaged. So we want them to feel when it's hard here, they need also to understand why it's hard. So when it's frozen outside and we need to save the harvest, they need to understand that, because we want also the people visiting us to understand what is beautiful in our job and also what is hard. So we need really people which are like cousins, you know, part of the family. So not easy to find people willing to feel part of the Tribodo family, but we do that. It's a long hiring people. It's a long process. We need 3 months in total at each time to find the good person, but it is really, really an important part. For me, when you try to be good at œnotourism, first is experiences and second is staff. And then when you have both, you really need to drive people here, because if you have the best staff and the best place, if you don't have any visitors, it is useless. So finally, we need to be experts at many aspects of our job. So we need to be expert first as a vineyard and winemaking, because at the end, the wine must be good, but also we need to be really good in HR and in organization, because it's a big part of our job. So thank you for the question, Mark. It's really, for me, a hard part of œnotourism.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. I think we all hear you. And going by the chat of where all our guests and people have dialed in from, it's so eclectic, so different, but also very inspiring, the different regions who are here interested and developing things. Claire, I think we'll take this opportunity to move on to the final few slides so we can get to the Q&A and open it up for discussion as well. There's a few things I have for Stefan and Carolyn, but we'll get to that.
Awesome. So now the crucial question of loyalty and willingness to pay, because we've seen that price can be a little bit tricky to set. And hopefully you do wine tourism because you want to be able to retain customers. What we see is, again, very different profile in both regions. In Bordeaux, 55% are first-timer. In Mainz, we have 2/3 of the population that is familiar, acquainted with the winery, and they've bought the wine before. Okay, so the loyalty process is already half done. And if we look at expression of loyalty, so that's where we ask visitors, we ask them to. So we go from the lower engagement, like leaving a positive review on social media, to the highest, declaring yourself as a loyal customer. And we see almost a flip between Mainz and Bordeaux there. Mainz visitors, they're not eager to leave a review on social media. It's only not even half, because we ask them to rank from 0 to 5 again. And maybe they don't see the point. Maybe social media is not their communication channel of reference. But in Bordeaux, they're very likely to leave you a review. And what Caroline was saying about attracting people, online review will definitely an interesting mean to drive people there. But then when we ask them, do you consider yourself after the visit a loyal customer? It's switch. In Mainz, yes, they do. In Bordeaux, they're probably a little bit more shy to declare themselves as loyal. And in both regions, sharing personal data was something a bit tricky as well. So we see that consumption habits differ between Bordeaux and Mainz region, and that leads to different profile of customers and different, I would say, leverage for loyalty. So customers who purchase locally and through direct sales are more likely to repeat visits because they are local, so the logistic is not as challenging. Increasing engagement via online reviews or word of mouth will lead to improvement in terms of acquisition of new visitors, but also developing loyalty and sense of belonging to a community within the customers you already have. And the sales strategy should also be adapted to the visitor's profile. I would say you can't treat first-timer the same that you will treat loyal customers. You don't have to treat somebody less good than the other, but it's more about you don't build the same relationship. And that leads us to the question of the fair price of the wine tourism, because we've seen that price can be a dissatisfaction level factor in Bordeaux. So we have the question of what is the fair price in the eyes of the visitors. And that's the new Great Wine Capital research project that got the grant last year. So a year after me, it has been run by Dr. Magali Dubois from Burgundy School of Business in Dijon. And the objective is to find the right price for the wine tourism activity. And our experiment will be in 3 regions of the world. And she will implement a 3 treatment. So the idea is to have a control group that will pay the price that is displayed for their wine tourism. In the group 1, we will show the price, but we will ask them to pay at their discretion what they think is the right price. And in the second group, the idea is that for them not to know the price and to pay what they feel like. So we'll see if we are right in terms of pricing the wine tourism activity. So that's the next step, I would say. In conclusions, yes, wine tourism enhances both tangible and intangible value of wine estates, and that's probably why it's so hard to measure it. But improvement initiatives should prioritize profiling visitors and tailoring offers to foster loyalty, to gain more visitors as well. It's more customer acquisition. And the main motivation of visitors that you have to keep in mind is to escape in nature, develop a human encounter, and the look for well-being activity. So they want to be outside, hiking, doing something good for their health. Wine tourism, in order to be efficient, should be integrated in the overarching strategy of the winery. Ask yourself, what am I trying to achieve by developing wine tourism? Is it direct sales? Is it diversification of my activity because I'm facing a decrease in wine consumption? Am I trying to develop a new service? And in that case, yes, I need more competence. I need new skills maybe, and reallocation of resources. It's important to use it not as just ad hoc activity or costly activity, but really to integrate it within your strategy, have a vision of the next step, the development of your wine tourism up to the level of I'm selling an experience. I'm selling an experience, not just supporting my direct sales. And that will be
Claire, obviously, thank you. No, thank you, Claire. I was going to say, so really from looking at this data and looking at these, just the information that you've been able to gauge across these two regions, although it seems a bit scary, particularly those of us who are attending who are winemakers or who run domains, we actually have to think beyond the bottle. The bottle is a beautiful payoff. It is the cherry on the top, but it is not the entire package. We have to think, innovate, and imagine experiences that can connect us to our narrative, but go well beyond reaching out to the myriad of different travelers, consumers, and wine lovers and professionals that are traveling the world constantly in search of brilliant memories. I think it'd be a great time, as you said, Claire, to open it up to the Q&A. Lucy, I see there are some questions here. I'm going to jump in and have a look. But Lucy, if there's any specific question you'd like that you've found already that we'd like to point out to, just to be efficient with our time.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, we had some question from one of the first topic that Claire was talking about. We have a question from Vladimir. He said, like, what visitor engagement channels are you using? I am not sure if we was asking the question to Caroline or to Stefan, because obviously it's a question for a winery, how to attract your customers, which are the main channels you're using, which are trending. It is your social media accounts or your website or platforms like Airbnb Experience. Maybe Caroline and Stefan can answer both.
Great question.
Yes, I would say today 80% in Château Mauvinon of the visitors are coming thanks to Google. Because today, even if the data sharing by Claire shows local families, etc., finally we have more 80% as first visitors, and because they are just coming to Bordeaux, Saint-Emilion to visit and to have an experience there, they are just tasting Saint-Emilion on Google, and hopefully we are high in the request. So Chateau Mauvinon is appearing a lot, and that's why we have many people coming here. But it's not by chance. It's because Mum decided to open the Google review page 10 years ago at the beginning of the rates on Google. And also because she has been during 20 years receiving guests here. At the beginning, it was free. So we were speaking about price that was free at the beginning. She had the feeling that being free meaning having good rates. It was the case. She had really good rates. And now we have a good global rate. And I think that Google is helping a lot to receive guests here. And the second part of the people coming are more thanks to tourism professional, like tours, agency, and tourism office. This is not so easy because when you start to be open every day and receive guests every day, you are considered as a I would say professional, really professional place like restaurant or like museum or like cinema. And so you need to be open at fixed hours every day, in summer, in winter, in Sunday, etc. So this is good to have great review and to have a lot of people coming thanks to that. But the thing is that we need to be really, really professional. So moving from a really family management to something more professional. So to answer the question, the main channel is internet, and the result is we need to be really, really professional when receiving guests, because if they see you are open, you have to be open. And if they book a visit online, you have to welcome there.
From here,
Stefan,
I see.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I see two different. I see a difference. Not all about the wineries, so it's also about the region. So in general, we are in the middle of Germany. We have 20 minutes to Frankfurt Airport, to the convention center in Frankfurt. So this is part of the intentional visitors what we have. And the really big and great thing would be if everyone who is from Germany, from Europe, from all over the world, being in those cities, will also come and visit part of this great history, tradition, and the future of wine here. And therefore, we have a very good link to the network of great wine capitals, Mainz and Rheinhessen here. So we offer our services at our social media and our website, but also together with all the colleagues from Mainz and Rheinhessen, we show what you can do in the region in total. So it's important that when a visitor is interested for the region and wants to be here, that he knows, okay, I can do tastings here, I can do tours here, I can do history and tradition, and there is also for this well-being. Where's the special and good hotels? Where do we have best food? And so that is the network that's what's important for us to attract people. And then they see, okay, they can choose. That's part of sports inside tourism. You have a lot of good offers, and the people will choose what they are interested in.
Interesting. Obviously, that brings it down to collaboration and sharing ideas, right, Stefan? Sometimes domains, sometimes wine professionals are ships in the night. They're dealing with their own challenges. They're dealing with their own ideation. But of course, every great idea can be bounced off other people. And that's where you spread, obviously, your own thoughts and energy, and you occasionally get the same energy back, and that creates a new experience, which is not going to add a lot more work to you or to the domain or to your business, but in fact enhances it across the board. So that's obviously where Great Wine Capitals comes in handy, because of these specific regions, is that they are enhancing the overall narrative of wine and wine regions and wine history and culture in a specific place that everybody is part of. I see a question. I actually see a question here about well-being from Vladimir, Lucy. Vladimir says, what is well-being? This is an interesting topic. It's very subjective. It's true. What is well-being? Is it walks? Is it having a sort of a hike or a guided tour? What do you think, Carolyn? What is well-being? I have my own thoughts. We all have our own thoughts. And Claire, I'd love to have your thoughts on this as well, because you got the data. So Carolyn first.
That is, for me, well-being, that is something linked to health and sport. And this is something we in Saint-Emilion we are not really developed. Finally, people, they want to have both at the same time. They want an experience, but at their few times, at the same time, they would like to build something really healthy. And sometimes it can be through just walking into the vineyard and like hearing and listening nature. Sometimes it can be having good food, healthy food, etc. I think we should add at every part of the journey here, the experience, something linked to well-being. We are not so good at that, so we need really to improve. So here in Moving we are working on it for the next season. We are working on well-being and families, because it was not so well rated in Claire visitors motivation, but we feel here, if we want to have more local people, we need to work on these two aspects.
Yeah. Claire.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Well-being is very large, and it's also very subjective. And unfortunately, in the survey, we couldn't ask more description because in order to be able to gather enough visitor answers, we couldn't keep them for too long, because we went in the vineyard and we asked them directly. We didn't ask, it was not an online survey, I would say, but I completely agree with the definition of Caroline. Just being immersed in nature and having that time. And sometimes we are too busy giving the tour and giving the talk, instead of having maybe a moment where the visitors can be by themselves and just take their time to enjoy the natural immersion. I would say, especially when you are a winery owner, you already live in nature. You're always surrounded by nature. You don't realize how much urban people can miss it. And that's important, to have these moments where there's nothing to say and people can just enjoy. That can be
that's very poetic. Yeah. Claire, that was beautifully poetic. I love it. And obviously my experience in wine tourism and wine storytelling here is we have to factor in that well-being is the happiness factor. So that could be something that is small or large. We all know that statistics show that some activity, physical activity, makes us happy. It doesn't mean you need to climb up very steep vineyards to get that well-being, but even a short walk, a picnic, or a moment to stop, as Claire said, in some silence, to recognize the region, to recognize the area and the story that brought you there, can be enough for some, and for many, wine or just tourists who are visiting. It is beautiful how simple happiness and the bliss factor can actually be. So very nice. So I think, as you said, Claire and Carolyn, it is a tough one because people's views of well-being are well varied, but authentic, story-led engagement, happiness, I think that's a beautiful ingredient for success. Lucy, I see a question here from Nicole, in fact. She's asking about the appearance of the winery and how, when visitors arrive, obviously Bordeaux, they have chateau, right, Carolyn? But Mainz and other regions who are not so built on that austere history, but more on the production of wine and wine regions. How do you present yourself, Stefan? You've got quite a modern space. How does that connect with your visitors?
What we try to do, the happiness factor is we try to make people a bit friends for us. So we don't give them a show. We are real as we are. So we try to bring them inside our thinking about sustainability, and part of sustainability. You can find both in Rheinhessen and here in the region. So you can find this old traditional things. You can find the castles and the river and the old cathedral in Mainz. But people also see that there is a movement, and I think we show the movement in thinking for sustainability. You have to invest into the future to make your electricity and your energy by your own. And therefore, in the end, we also show in our labels that we are a bit more modern. But in what we do and what we say, people, we are still natural craftsmen working in the vineyards. And you can taste that in the wines. So in the end, the package is clear.
Yeah. Stefan, I think you just got to, it's about ownership, isn't it? You own your authenticity, you own your story, and you tell it in different ways. It doesn't have to look the way that people expect, as long as you have the story and the motivation and the ownership of that story to share it. And obviously then people can understand. There are wine lovers and tourists who adore history. There are others who obviously get caught up into the craft, the making, the modernization of winemaking. So there's always going to be a different thing and a different offering. For both Carolyn and Stefan, there's a question about storytelling and using digital storytelling and immersive tech. QR codes are basic, but maybe even down to 3D views of the domain. Stefan, Carolyn, let me put that to you. Are you employing pre-visit technology to get people excited to bring them into the domain?
I would say I'm not against digital, because thanks to digital, we have people coming here. And thanks to digital, we have a link with them and we can connect with them after the visit. But I'm not a fan of the idea of having digital inside the tour or a pre-tour, etc. I really feel like people, they don't want a storytelling, they want story living. They want real life, they want authenticity. Last week, we had the pigs in the vineyard, they escaped, and the visitor helped me to take back the pigs inside. They just love this moment. It was a normal life here. It was a normal moment for us, but for them, it was exceptional to live that. So, I mean, you don't need to have a luxury or prepare the digital program. You just need to make the moment unique. And so that's why I'm not a fan of the idea of having screen or stories in digital. I do prefer sharing a nice moment here, a normal moment, and our normal life is really interesting for people coming from far away. So I would say I'm more in living than in digital.
I'm absolutely
nice, and I love the hashtag story living. That's what we're leaving with today. Thank you, Karen. Sorry, Stefan, you continue.
No, I'm absolutely with Caroline. I think we want to show people what they can see, but we don't show them everything, so that they want to come to our places and want to come into the region in short movies, in short sequences on the website, on social media. But everything else is what you have to achieve here at the place directly when you are there. So
nice. Thank you, Stefan. Yes, and Claire.
Yes, just to bounce on this, your website should have very mandatory mentions such as your opening days, opening hours, your address, your very precise address. The rest is really less important to the visitors because they will come to meet you. And in both Stefan's and Caroline's wine estates, what I really like is they both have built space where you can just hang out. you can just hang out with your family, with your friends. And because sometimes we feel like we have to share a lot of information, and it's true. There's definitely some kind of decoding of the wine production to make. It's a great opportunity to share all your complex sustainability practice. For instance, wine tourism is great for that. These are information you can't put in your back label, but having this space of breathing, of resting, it's very essential. And yeah, please, if all of you can just check your website, and if you don't have your just logistic information, ideally, if you can book online the wine tourism, then just add this information, and that will make a big change in your website.
That's right, Claire. And obviously we have multiple nodes to connect with domains or find out information. Now, obviously Google Maps is a big element. People may not always know your website. They know where you are and may have some idea, or just look on a map and a pin and an identity and go, oh, that looks nice. So don't neglect, obviously, other websites or other forms of information. Keep your Google Maps up to date. When you open, when you close, when you're on holiday, when things are complete chaos with escaping pigs in Bordeaux, you have to obviously make sure that you're up to date all the time. So then you don't get a negative review or a negative response just because someone showed up expecting to be open and you're not. That's the worst, because they haven't even experienced your visit, your hospitality. They will rate you on your door being closed because they assumed you are open. So that's a big factor. It can be tough to remember where you're listed, but it makes a big difference in terms of customer retention and satisfaction. It's been fantastic having you all here today. And again, thank you to Stefan, Caroline, and more so Claire, for sharing your data, your interest, and your energy for this exciting and obviously idea-full, fulfilling, story-living in part of the wine industry and tourism as a whole. It's been great hosting you, great chatting with you. Lucy and Celine, I'll leave it to you to say goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to be here. We saw a lot of participants from all over the world, so we are very happy about this. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we covered
Okay.
all the continents.
Woo!
So
Yes.
congratulations, guys. Thank you for your support. If you haven't put your opinion in the little questionnaire, please do. But otherwise, we wish you a very good day, and stay tuned on Great Wine Capital's website and social media.
Okay. Au revoir.
Bye, everyone.
À bientôt.
Au revoir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you, everyone.